It won't surprise any of you to hear that I've been speaking English for a long time. It's my native language, I got several 9s on my AP essays, I'm a linguistics student, and I've used it as a jumping off point for framing my understanding of other languages. So that's why today I'm going to give English a Yelp review. I'm going to talk about what it does well, what it could do better, and whether or not I would recommend it. The irony, of course, being that I'm doing the whole thing in English. Hi, welcome to my channel where I talk about things that interest me because that's all I do all the time. Before I start out with this, I'd like to say that my frame of reference is not the greatest. I know a decent bit of German, I know a bit of Japanese, and I know a little bit of French, so my ability to compare English to other languages is a bit wanting, but I think I'm prepared enough to make these judgments with the knowledge that I currently have. So my assessment will be divided up into 4 sections: grammar, vocabulary, phonetics, and the alphabet. Starting off with grammar, I'm going to give English a 6 out of 10, and here's why. English is extremely grammatically versatile, and you can reword things in a lot of different ways, but so much of the way that we structure sentences is completely idiomatic and not within the basic confines of our grammar that it's A, hard to learn as a native speaker, and B, hard to stop yourself from applying these rules to situations where they can't be applied to. English also has some really stupid idiosyncrasies, like how we use the proverbial you in colloquial conversation rather than some incarnation of the word one like most languages do. In German they say man rather than du when using the proverbial you, which gets rid of the whole, no I didn't mean you, I meant like generally like any given person thing that we have to do in English. The reason I didn't give English a worse score in the grammar category is because of how many ways you can formulate the same idea in order to give it a different feel. It really stands out from other languages in that way. Moving on to vocabulary, I'm going to give English a 10, and that's relative. I think English has the best vocabulary out of any language because of how many outside influences there are. English is largely German and French, but there are thousands of loan words from Spanish, Latin, Japanese, Nordic languages, African languages, and a bunch of other ones I didn't mention. There are very few languages where you can put a word into a thesaurus and get several dozen answers, and even those languages don't have the breadth of vocabulary that English does. We have tons of synonyms and antonyms for every word, which allows us to specify exactly what we're thinking on a specific subject. Only a couple times in my entire life has English failed to provide me with the words I need to get an idea across, and even in those situations, I could use the words we already have to build up an understanding of my point on top of a giant pile of linguistic Lincoln logs. Plus, our vocabulary is growing every day and new words are coming about all the time. Pars is in the dictionary now. But here is where English falls flat. Phonetics. I'm giving it a 4 because while it's not as bad as an entirely pitch accent language like Chinese, it's at the bottom of the barrel in terms of stress accent languages. English has a pretty bad phonetic system and has more difficult allophones than it should. When you think about difficult English sounds to pronounce, you think of th, you think of you think of j, but that's not even all of them. We have so many different allophones per phoneme that it's often hard to keep up with English accents. We have multiple manifestations of the schwa, we have multiple R sounds that come up in different situations, we have multiple Gs, multiple Ls, and all of these sound- what is happening in my face? We have multiple manifestations of the schwa, we have multiple R sounds that come up in different situations, we have multiple Gs and multiple Ls, and all of these sounds that you would think of as one single sound but pronounced differently depending on where it is in a word. And that's true of almost every language, but it is extremely prevalent in English. I had a hard time coming up with a rating for the English alphabet, but I'm going to tentatively give it a 5. The issue that I'm having is that the English alphabet is small and simple, which is really helpful when learning another language and when purchasing marquees, but the lack of letters doesn't mesh well with our 44 phonemes and our 50 to 60 allophones. Are you okay, computer? That's why we have all of this mixing letters garbage and the like th and the ow and stuff like that being spelled with more than one letter. However, I cannot give it below a 5 when languages like Chinese exist. I'll take just over 26 characters mapped to like 40 sounds, over thousands of characters mapped to like 60, any day of the week. If we average out all of my scores, we can see that I've given English a 6.25 out of 10 overall, placing it as an above average language that has really high highs, but is just kinda decent and fine in most other circumstances. I'm a really big fan of English, and I think it's a perfectly fine candidate for the universal language alongside other really good options like Spanish. Not Chinese though. Nobody's going to be able to learn Chinese after their critical period is over. And that brings us to a close. I kind of expected to give English a higher score when I thought of this video idea initially, but I'm not too surprised with what I gave it in the end. So overall, I would recommend English. It is a pretty decent language. This is also like not scientific in any way, so who actually cares? I just thought this was an interesting idea. Thanks for watching.